Hello, everyone, and welcome to Daddy Lights Podcast. I am your host, Latrika Jones, and what an honor, what a privilege, what a blessing that it is to be sitting in front of you today. Oh my God, I'm just telling you, it's when I think about all that, why I'm so excited to be here today, so many different obstacles, so many different challenges that the Lord has allowed me to overcome. It almost seemed like, wow, I really made it through that. Have you ever felt that way? I'm serious. Have there ever been a time where you just know that it had to be the Lord on your side? Okay? Because it just doesn't really make sense that you made it through that big giant or that tall giant or that wide giant, however the case may be. The you know what the beauty of the story is God is faithful and he saw you through it every step of the way. Even with our own strength, we didn't know how we were going to do it. But in God's might, He did. And guess what? You overcame. You overcame. And with that being said, again, welcome, welcome, welcome to my podcast, Daddy Lights. I have so much that I want to share with you. It's so much that I have some very, very, very and I'm saying all these varies. Okay, listen, because this person, once you see this person on this podcast, lights, camera, action, and the words that's going to be coming out of this particular person's mouth, then you will understand why I'm so excited. And I know once again, God did it. God had to do that because I know I couldn't have done it. But God will bless those who put him first. Pray to him. A lot of times he said, the word says we have not because we ask not, right? We have to make our request be made known. And sometimes it gets scary and we don't really know. We'd be like, oh my God, that might be out of my league, or maybe I'm asking for something too much, or maybe I'm this is too big for me. But guess what? It's not too big for God. God can do the unthinkable. God can do the impossible. There is nothing that God can't do. Do you hear me? My daddy is endless, okay? It's endless. It's nothing that he can't do. And not only that, I just like to say every time I start any segment, I just like to give him the honor, the credit, the praise. Why? Because he's worthy of it. He's so deserving. Have you ever thought about things you've been through in your life and you've been like, you know what? That should have took me out. That should have did it right there. If you just be honest with yourself, because we all know that transparency transforms, right? If we be honest, as I know for me, I look back and I'd be like, oh my God, how in the world did I make it over? And not saying that you're still not having your trials or your tests and things that you go through. Absolutely. I think anybody with still living that has a pulse, you're still experiencing different things from time to time. But the beauty of it is that the arrows may form, but guess what? They will not prosper. So they can try you all day, every day, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work. Okay. So I just like to say I'm excited to be here. God for me is tried and true, and I just cannot know how good God is and not be willing to share my testimony. I just can't. It's some things that I have. I was just sharing with a dear friend the other day, even, and she was even saying, Trika, what I have and what I have access to, it don't even make sense. It don't even add up on paper. Okay. It don't even make sense that I have it. But I'm telling you, if you put God first, the sky is the limit. There is nothing that he won't do when he knows that you have the right heart posture, when he knows that you put him first. I never will forget when I had appeared on the show, The Book of John Gray, on the Oprah Winfrey Network. I was so nervous, y'all, but I was so excited. it was such a blessing to be around Pastor John and his wife Aventer and their beautiful children and family. And I just remember, as you know, we was taping those shows, I remember he told me, well, what I was dealing with at the time. He said, you know what you sow in tears, you shall reap in joy. And when he said that, I mean, I began to listen and to process it, but I really didn't understand the full manifestation of it until I had to go through some of my greatest battles, my greatest storms, right? And it just seemed like out of nowhere, God showed up. He showed his face. I remember at times where I didn't know how things were going to work out. I'm a believer. I'm a woman of God. I always put God first. My heart belongs to God. And I'm not ashamed to tell anybody of that because I know if it had not truly been by the Lord on my side, I would not be sitting in this chair in front of you today. Okay. So with that being said, I don't know about you, but if you can, this have ever happened to you, when I tell you, my grandmother, who lived to be 106 years old, Rosie Lee Jones, who raised me, God called her home recently in December. And when I tell you, and I shared at other times, I've been allowed to have an opportunity to speak on my grandmother's love and her heart and her dedication to her family. Um, it's just almost like I'm living in a different world. I'm not going to, sit here and pretend like it's not. I'm not going to sit here and just don't say that some days I literally just break down crying. I do. I just did it yesterday or the day before. It happens so often. I lose track of the days. But, she had just embedded so much in me. I've learned so much by sitting at her feet, wisdom bestowed. And even with her wisdom, she had a joke to tell you, something that'll make you laugh or something just to get your mind off of what you're going through. And I just, it's a hard one, right? Because, I mean, she was 106. Most people I know won't be allowed, may not even see those years. So that is a tremendous blessing. God definitely, oh my, had blessed her life with longevity. And she would even tell me quite often, she would say, Trika, God must be leaving me here for something. And it must be something good about me. I said, Mama, it is. I don't know anybody who follows me on Instagram or on TikTok, on my YouTube channel, where I will be downloading a lot of these videos. Um, I told her, I said, Mama, absolutely. It's a lot that's good about you. And I see why my dad is leaving him here. She was like the pillar. She was the rock. She was the foundation of the family, you know? And she would just smile when I would tell her that, she was a girly girl, she loved to wear bracelets. I think that's why I think that passed on down to me because I love to wear bracelets now and jewelry and just little different gadgets and jewels. It takes me back to her. And again, grief is nothing easy to deal with. She would even tell me, Trika, you could never get acquainted with death. And the words that she would share would be so empowering because if you think about it, it might sound like a riddle or a joke in the meantime. But if you process it, you realize she really has some substance. There was some meaning to what she said. And I don't want to listen because I start crying about her again, just thinking about her because she was truly my best friend. And anybody that knows me, they knew how much she meant to me because she shared and she invested in me. She raised me. Honestly, she was a place that I can go to when I couldn't go nowhere else. Sometimes when life will take you to, some of the low of lows, when life be lifing and you just don't know what to do or what to say or how to respond, I could go to her house, open up that door, go in her back room where she loved to look out the window and looking at her neighborhood and sit on the corner of her bed and just to sit in her presence or to sit at her table and bring her a cup of coffee. It did something for my soul. And words can't even really describe it, but it's something about her presence that made me feel secure. You know, she was like God to me on hands and feet. She would tell me, Trika, don't worry about that. While you sitting up worried about that, that person came and went. Like I told you, she'll add a little punchline on the end. And before I knew it, I thought about what she said. I started laughing and I immediately began to start feeling better. It's something about being in the company, in the presence of someone that really cares, about someone that is sincere, about someone that is genuine. You can literally feel that energy, that joy, that peace. Not saying that, with her that I know a lot of times she might have been in pain and going through different things, but she would never share it. She took everything with a smile. Everything with a smile. I told her one day, I said, Mom, I think you got something on the side of your ear. She shared with me. She said, Girl, you might see a spider coming up on my ear in this time, in this age. She was nearly 106, and we both just busted out laughing. And I just, it's just the memories like that. Her presence, her energy, her wisdom. Oh my God. I had someone to share with me and say, Trika, I know God called her home, and it is indeed a strong cord that He unplugged. But this particular person, um, friend, mentor, she's in the ministry. She said, but just think about all that you've learned. You got a chance to, learn from somebody that's been here 106 years. People will ask my grandmother, what's your secret to longevity? Why do you think God allowed you to be on this earth 106 years? What is something that, that you've always did, or what advice would you give to someone who wants to have longevity? And I don't mean longevity like you're sick. I mean, no, she wasn't confined. She was still listening, painting her nails, wearing her bracelets. Okay. I mean, a prissy crossing her legs. She was a girly girl and I loved it, But they would ask her, what advice would you give me? You live, being 106 years old. And you know what she would tell them? She would say, I mind my own business. And she did. I've never known her to be like a person that talks on the phone a lot or gossiping and, keeping mess going. No, she really, really was the epitome of what love looks like, what it feels like. She loved her family. Like I say, she raised me. Anything that she knew that would help make you better and what a shape, form, or fashion, she would do it. She was to me, she was the epitome of honestly, and I'm not just saying this because she was my grandmother, but she just showed me what unconditional love looks like. I've seen people in the neighborhood where some people might look down on, but I've never seen her turn them away. I've never seen her make anybody feel less than. Even if most people will probably say, oh, they turn their nose down at that particular person, my grandmother didn't. And I would peep around a corner and I was like, wow. So she showed me what unconditional love is like and how you don't look down on people just because they may not have what you think they should have. And I think honestly, that's why God was another reason why He kept her here. She had a genuine, pure, sincere heart, and she loved love. She loved her family. Anybody know if they met her, she met you with a smile. She met you with a warm hug, and you actually felt that warm hug and that smile. Okay. So again, you don't want to be selfish because you was like, my God, my daddy allowed her to live to be 106 years. And even though I want her to still be here with me, but I have to know that, we all at some point in time that God, will call us home. The main thing is that we be ready, right? And speaking of that, okay, I just also wanted to share Daddy Lights Ministry. I've had some people say, Trika, what does that mean? Where did that name come from? And the reason why I created that name is because I never knew my earthly father. I mean, I knew him. I might have met him 5 times out of the whole my entire life. But even as a young girl, I felt a special bond, a connection with my heavenly father. I never will forget my brother asked me, Carl, he asked me, and I call him Norman. But he asked me, Trika, who you want to be when you grow up? And I can remember this just like yesterday. We was at my grandmother's house and getting ready to walk to the local store, and we was going around a huge, wide, fat bush that she used to have on the corner of our house facing the street. And as we was walking around that bush, he said, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be when you grow up? And I told him, I don't even know if he remembered this story. Like I said, it's been so long ago. But he said, who do you want to be? And I said, I want to be God. And he said, you can't be God, silly. And I was like, well, that's who I want to be. And you know, the reason why I said that is, it's because again, even at that time, I felt something special about God. I was fascinated about the sky, the birds, the rain, the weather, just life, I was fascinated about it. And speaking of that, also, that is the title of this podcast segment, which is called, What Does Life Mean to You? If you really, really, really think about that, what does life mean to you? Does it give you something special that to think about when you probably never thought about that before? Is it something that, kind of sticks out in your mind when you think about life? It could be something as your children, your grandchildren, legacy, something that you would like to possibly leave to them one day to represent you, your existence here in the land. Because I know for me, as you get older, and my grandmother, like I said, I do reference to her from time to time because not only was she my grandmother, she was my true friend and she was my mentor. And she would tell me, Trika, just keep living. By and by, just keep living. You'll begin to start seeing different things as you begin to grow older. The good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. She said, just keep living. Some things a person won't even have to tell you. You will begin to start figuring it out for yourself. Okay. And so when she would tell me that, like I said, one night I was just laying in the bed and I noticed her lately, God has been waking me up in the middle of the night. And when he do that, I just talk to him. I've had somebody to even tell me that when God wakes you up like that, he wants to hear from you. So I get up because, I can't go back to sleep no way. And I don't really want to start anything else. So, and before I do, I would begin talking to my daddy. And again, Daddy is my heavenly father, and I also see him as well as my earthly father, because the word said God will be a mother to the motherless and a father to the fatherless. And like I said, even that deep connection I've always felt with God, even as a little girl, I felt like I couldn't really tell nobody because they may be like, she's a little weird. Like, why is she so much into God like she is? Why is she so fascinated? So a lot of times I would keep it to myself, but it's just something special about the name of the Lord and Jesus and just his earth and everything about it, like going to church and people and just, life in itself, people that's babies that's being born, people that passes on, birth, deaths, the living, everything. I just was fascinated about it all. So, and due to the passing of my mom, who I lost a few years ago, Sylvia Lee Jones, my mom, she taught me strength, taught me a lot of wisdom as well. With the passing of her a few years ago, and then my grandmother, her recently as December, a lot of wisdom I've learned from these beautiful pioneers that raised me in my life. Like I said, I really didn't know my earthly father. I'm sorry, yeah, my earthly father as much. Then maybe a few times that you can count on one hand throughout my entire life. But with my mom, with my grandmother, my mom, and my spiritual father, I see them as the ones who raised me, right? And I've always said if I started an organization, it would be called Daddy. And Daddy stands for Jesus. And I think in the world that we live in, and everybody, I'm sure, can see how life has changed. Those are some of the final words my grandmother would tell me verbatim. She'd say, Trika, things are just not what they used to be. And I say, Mama, you know what? You're right. They're not. from COVID to monkeypox to all these different type of viruses and things that's coming about, even the people. That's what my grandmother would say. She said, you know why things have really changed? And I say, why is that, Mama? She said, it's the people. hmm She said, it's the people, the reason why things are not what they once used to be. People are not who they used to be. And again, when she said that, I had to agree with her. And she meant like some of the people that you used to can trust. Okay. Some of the people that you could, once count on or lean to or talk to, they're the ones now that, they're just not the same people who you once knew, and I'm not saying it to try to tear or put nobody down, but even the world, the decisions that people are making now, letting certain things in, letting things go, looking over certain things. It used to be a time where it was more integrity, it was more standards. They just didn't go with any and every little thing. People would, stand their ground. Because I believe if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? But nowadays, it almost seems like anything goes, and that can also apply to the people. We're the one that's changing these decisions and implementing new things. And a lot of times, think people do things for their own selfish reasons. A lot of times, people do things for money, power, and politics, right? So I agree. Obviously, because of people, the world now seems to be taking a different turn, a different direction, and it's not always for the good. Okay, and it's not always better. So, with that being said, in the world that we're living in today, it's a lot of darkness, right? A lot of darkness. You hear about a lot of the killings. You hear about a lot of children that's abducted. You hear about a lot of abuse, toxic situations, unhealthy situations. And a lot of times, if people would just do the work. You would be surprised that if someone genuinely care, if someone genuinely love you, you will be surprised how God can touch their heart, whoever that person may be, he or she or they. It might be a way that God can use them to help you be who you need to be. You know, by me being raised by my grandmother, that was genuine love. So, and how can that not be passed down to me? That's something that my counselor would tell me. He would say, I can't say this to everybody, but you're genuine. Whether somebody like it or not, you are who you are. You know that? And I'm okay with it. Like me or love me. You know what I'm saying? Like it or leave it or love it. This is who I am. And and he would say that, and then he was like, look at you, your gestures, the way you talk, you're just who you are. And that is actually, and I never saw it like that until he shared it with me, but he said that is such a gift. That is so rare. Because that's, I think, a lot of reason why people build up their defense mode, because they're not sure if they can trust you. Okay. They're not sure if they can bring their walls down, because are you going to love them after they share what they say? Are you going to be there? Are you going to judge them? But to be genuinely who you are and accept me for who I am. And if you can't, that's okay. Because guess what? I'm going to still be this person when you leave. I am. So that's why I say either like me or love me. This is who I am. And I'm not changing for anyone. I am wonderfully, uniquely made by my daddy, okay? Jesus Christ. And God makes no mistakes. Do you hear me? He does not. He take the good with the bad and he used it for his good. And he has. I can attest to you. I have many testimonies where the devil meant for evil. God turned it for the good. And I mean, sometimes it has been in the nick of time. I was amazed. I was like, did that just happen? Did that really just happen? I mean, out of nowhere. The last blessing that I received, I just had to share this with you. I was at my desk where I'm at now on my computer, and all of a sudden I heard a bing, and I looked down at my phone, and I was like, I mean, out of nowhere, in shock of what just happened. I don't know if you heard the saying that sometimes it could be just that one text message, just that one email, just that one phone call can change the trajectory of your life for the better. Do you hear me? That's all it takes. It's amazing what God can do and what he can use. It's just, I listen, I couldn't do nothing but like bawl out crying. Cause that didn't make no sense with just bing, just a little beep all of a sudden out of nowhere just showed up on my phone. But I do know that particular day that I was dealing with so many challenges that it would have been easy for me to lay in my bed and say, Daddy, I can't do this again today. Not another day, not like this. But I got myself up. I pushed through the distractions that, the devil sometimes try to tell you stuff in your mind that what you're doing is not going to, God is not going to use it as if what you're doing is all in vain. But we all know, right? The devil is a liar. And if you don't know, you go learn today because he is. If you're not careful, he'll get next to you. He'll make you question your own self. And when you know God is faithful, when you know there is nothing too hard that God can't do. So we have to turn down, turn off those little voices that try to come in and lie to us. So I pushed through the challenges. I pushed through the adversity, and I did. And I sat at that desk and I continued to persevere and not even knowing, but I just kept trying. I refused to quit. I refused to give up. And me just having the right heart posture in the right spirit, I heard that ding out of nowhere. And when I received that notification on my phone, it made me look down to see what the alert was. And when I tell you that one particular alert, everything that was trying to come against me or everything I didn't understand or that seen as a challenge, it took care of it. My God, it wiped it clean. It's like it was a whole new clean slate afterwards. See, that's the kind of God I serve. That's the God I know. That's my daddy. Like you see on my sign back here, Daddy Lights Ministry. That's my daddy I'm talking about. So it's no need to fret. It's no need to be in fear. It's no need to worry. It's no need to just, cry yourself to sleep. Go to sleep, matter of fact. Okay? Go to sleep. Get that rest that you need. Because I know with me, I love my naps. Okay. I feel so much better. I feel rejuvenated. I can think better. I think clearer. It's necessary. Because at the end of the day, God got you. I don't care what it looks like, what it feels like. God got you. God know your heart. He know what you're going through. He didn't send that beat all of a sudden for nothing. Sometimes God will just take you through certain storms, trials, and tribulations just to see if he can test you, just to see if he can trust you, just to see if you're going to lean on him or you're going to still believe in him or you're going to fall to what the devil's trying to use to make you feel like you can't make it, you can't overcome, to make you feel subdued in your pain or your whatever you might feel, your discouragement. Are you feeling down on yourself? Are you feeling, alone? We're getting ready to approach Valentine's Day. A lot of people may see that as a day to feel alone. It could be something as like my grandmother, who I love greatly with all my heart, that she's not here. I'm used to buying her little boxes of candy or great big cards and sharing my love and affection with little teddy bears, just little things like that. And I can't do that this year. And I happen at stores I would normally go in and buy these things for her. I look forward to sharing and sharing my love with her because she'd done it for me my whole life and realizing, oh, I can't do that. I can't buy it. And to a certain degree, maybe you can. If that brings healing and deliverance to your heart, if it gives you something to be like, I couldn't give it to that special person this year for whatever reason that may be, but you might still get something just to help you hold on to share whatever memories that you might once had, because I've learned in life, everything isn't bad. It might not be what you want it to be, but it had to be something in that that God allowed you to go through, to experience, to hopefully make you do better that next opportunity, that next time around. Okay. So, with that being said, I just wanted to share that because I know people are preparing for this weekend, Super Bowl weekend. They're preparing for Valentine's Day weekend, or just their own time to just get out and enjoy themselves, enjoy their lives, living their best life, making new plans, new challenges, starting new businesses, writing books. Oh my God, so many different things that's going on that, like I said, it might not always be what you want it to be or you expected it to be, but it could be worse. I told myself that this morning when I got up and I talked to Daddy. I said, God, I might not be just yet where I want to be, but I'm so thankful, Daddy, I'm not where I used to be. And sometimes I do believe when God can see, you can appreciate some of the small things even. It's not always have to be honky dory and gigantic. It can be, God, I thank you for even that. I still thank you for that little ding I got that changed the whole ball game for me. Do you hear me? God is faithful and he knows what we need. And again, there's nothing too hard for my daddy. So yes, that is the reason why I named my organization, my ministry, Daddy Lights Ministry, because Daddy represents Jesus. In this world, there is darkness, sadly. But I think that we are called to be a light in a dark world. And that's why I say lights. I want to represent the light for my daddy, who is Jesus, in this dark world. And by doing so, that is why I created my ministry, which is called Daddy Lights Ministry. I think sometimes if a person understands your mission, they understand your vision, they understand your purpose, it might help them to get on board to what you're trying to do. My grandmother always said, and not trying to reference to her more than necessary, but I do believe God allowed her to live 106 years on this earth for a reason. Okay. Like I shared with her, yes, God is leaving you here for a reason. And that reason is I'm beginning to see a lot of things she shared that I'm saying now. Things that I implement in my very own personal life. It's almost like the mantle has been passed from my grandmother to me, because we always talked about God, and that is something that she would always share with me. She say at the end, that was one of our final um, conversations. And I shared this before, and I don't mind sharing it again. As my 106-year-old grandmother was laying in her bed, I kept trying to get her to sit up, but she kept laying down. And with that being said, she was talking about the goodness of God. She was talking about how good God is. And when I tell y'all, excuse me, my Texas accent, because I'm born and raised in Texas. So you're going to hear it from time to time. But believe it or not, I can cut it off when necessary. I've had somebody tell me, you know how to cut that off when you want to. I'm like, yeah, I do. But sometimes I can't help it because it's just, my accent. But I can when needed. Trust me. So, but yeah, I just wanted to share that me and my grandmother, and I wasn't even knowing that, like maybe about a month or so later, the transition changed and God called her home. But she shared with me, she said, just when I went by that particular day, she just had a high energy that I hadn't seen before. I mean, she always, was a character and full of life and spunky, loved to dance. If you check out my social media page, which I will be posting on my link so you can check her out, even on my YouTube channel, I would show videos of her from time to time dancing, full of life, full of energy. Just it was contagious. Okay, you wanted to be a part of it. And this one particular day, I went by and she would even tell me, even, where you been? I said, well, Mama, I've had a few things I had to do with the kids and run some errands. And she said, okay, well, I hadn't seen you since Sunday. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I mean, that's how sharp and alert she still was at 106. And she said, but, you know, it was almost like I hadn't seen you since Sunday, but I was waiting on you. I knew you was coming in. And that's me. She knew, may not know pinpoint what day, but she knew I'm coming through that door to see her and check on her. Because why? Love is an action. My mom always say, Trika, a person can prep their mouth to say anything, but pay attention to their action. Because that action is showing you who they really are, no matter what their mouth is saying. Because again, people can fib and not tell the truth and lie. But that action, what they're literally putting their hands and feet to, that's who they are. And believe them when they show you the first time. Okay. So with that being said, back to my grandmother, right? We're in her bed. She loved to be in her home. She loved to be in her bed, and she was just had all this zest of energy this at this moment, and she was just talking about the goodness of God. And we will always from time to time talk about the Lord and how good God is, but it was something, I must admit, that was very, very special to me by this one particular day. Not only did she talk about how good God is, she stayed on that particular subject. She kept saying, God is good. Trika, God is good. And she'll go and say, oh, God is good. And she kept saying that. And I said, Mama, yeah, God is good. And he done brought you a mighty long way. And she said he has. And she was to also tell me, you know what, Trika, God is good to you too. I said, yes, Mama, he is. And before I knew it, she will come back even more. Oh, God is good. Oh, God. I mean, it was almost like nonstop. And the energy and the pureness and the heartfelt. Like I say, this is a loving woman. You could feel her energy. Anybody that's been around my grandmother, Rosalie Jones, they know a hug are coming, a smile, a joke, something that is coming to lift your spirit. So this particular moment, laying in the bed, sitting up to my grandmother that was laying in the bed. She's 106 years old, and she's really, really, really speaking about the goodness of God. God is good. Ooh, literally, that would be the words she would say. And I looked at her, and I began to be like, I literally, like you see, I'm speechless now. Something was taking place. This wasn't just your average dialogue. This just wasn't your average conversation. It was something, seemed like it was being transpired in our conversations. And before I know it, as I was in agreement and she was happy. Before I looked up, I was getting happy. And it was just, you could feel the love in this room like never before. And we was the only one in the house, just me and her in her room, rejoicing, talking about the goodness of God. And even while she was laying in the bed, she had all this energy, like, ooh, all of this boldness, this substance of strength that came through. And before I realized, as I was in agreement, I said, Mama, God, he is good. He is over average good. Okay, those are her words. And before I realized it, she made some conversation on Trika, the God that I know, and she's 106 years. She said, been living 106 years. She told me, she said, I know now that you know that same God. And I tell you, listen, I can almost cry right now when she told me that, because it was something about it that it was confirmation for me. It was confirmation to my spirit. It was confirmation because of my daddy is obviously the same God that kept my loving, genuine, blessed, sincere, never turned nobody away, loved her family, loved people, cared, gave, dedicated her life to. If that same lady, my grandmother, Rosalie Jones, that pillar of the community, who God blessed to live to see 106 years, if he allowed her to have the love that she has in her heart, even at 106 years, if any way, shape, form, or fashion, that any of that has been transformed, passed down, the mantle has been passed down to me in any kind of way, my God, what a blessing to take on. Oh my God. And I can't say it like I mean it. But I knew for her to share those words for me at that time, it was bigger than us. I think in a way God was reassuring that the love bestowed and I have granted grace and mercy and long life, longevity in your grandmother. Surely if I could do it for her, my God, that I'm not a respectful person, that I won't do the same for you. And it's just something, it's almost like it was an exchange. And I want to say an even exchange, actually. Because after that, we just continued to worship and praise and laugh. It was like a joy. Have you ever walked into an abundance of joy that it almost felt supernatural? It almost felt too good to be true, you know? And that's what I felt when I was in my room with my grandmother. That exchange of love and joy, that reassurance, the same God that kept me 106 years, I assure you, He's the same God that can keep you, whatever journey that you end up living in your entire life. He will be with you just like He was faithful there with me. Okay. And that's why I can go on. That's why I can run on and see what the end is going to be. Oh my God. So and again, not long, maybe about a month or so after that, God called her home. But I'm just so grateful I had an opportunity to exchange something so powerful with my grandmother that I will always cherish and keep with me in my heart. Okay. I don't want to cry, y'all. That's not why I'm on this. That's not why I wanted to come on here to talk about or end up doing, but actions what? Speak louder than words. It's my heart because I got a chance to be able to connect with such a big heart that my grandmother had. So with that being said, I am excited about what God is doing. I feel a strong shift. It's some great things that could be coming about soon. Some great opportunities that I'm going to be sharing with you that I know that you're going to be highly, highly excited about. Listen, I am just overtaken by the goodness of who God is. I've seen Him make ways out of no ways. Speaking of that, I will also, connect some more details down in my link that I'm also an advocate for families that deals with CPS, because again, every day, you just never know what a person is going through, right? Just because they're smiling on the outside doesn't mean they're actually smiling on the inside. A lot of people are masking or covering up and pretending. And that's why it's really important to speak life into people's life because you never know. Your words, your exchange of words can be the decision in between whether they want to keep going or give up or give out. Okay. And my grandmother, once again, Rosalie Jones, would faithfully tell me, you might give out, but don't never give up. And to me, that is divine nuggets and jewels, words of wisdom. Okay. Because life be lifing. Sometimes if you're not careful, it'll get next to you. It may make you want to quit. It make you want to give up, throw in the towel, But guess what? You can give out. But as long as you get back up, that's allowing God to do what needs to be done. Because at the end of the day, God has the final answer. And remember that little I said earlier, that little bell right there, allow God to bring you your bell and however that needs to be. Okay. So like I said, it wasn't that I wasn't going through nothing that day. I just wouldn't allow what I was going through to overtake who I was, who I am. Seasons change. They do. Tough times don't last always. Okay. We got to allow God to do the work. We got to allow God to move on our behalf. There are certain things that we can't do, but guess what? God can. And He will if you allow Him the opportunity. If you give up and you quit, right? What that's going to do? That's not going to solve anything. It's not going to change anything. Sometimes the test is just staying in the fight. Sometimes the test is just showing up. That's half the battle right there sometimes even. Okay? So with that being said, I don't know what you're going through. Like I say, I speak to families that's dealing with CPS. I was once a family that was in CPS, and I'm not ashamed. Why? Because God can take scars and turn them into stars. Okay? He can take your very own personal, unique pain and turn that very same pain into purpose. So don't be dismayed, or don't look at small beginnings. Don't look at temporary setbacks. Again, the key word is temporary. I also believe in a saying that I heard a known minister pastor say, as long as you got a pulse, God still has a plan. Okay. Like my grandmother say, it's not over yet. You might give out, you might take a break, but whatever you do, while you give out or take a break for that moment, get back in the ring. You might give out, but don't never give up. And I'm sure in 106 years, my grandmother faced a lot of opportunity, a lot of setback, opposition that she could have easily, allowed that to take the best, take over her, get next to her, you know, um, make her want to quit. But guess what? She didn't. She even said she picked cotton. She picked cotton. She even said she worked as a cook and retired from a restaurant. She was a great cook. She could cook some mean greens. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. I know that has nothing to do with the podcast, but I just had a flashback. Sorry, but but she could. Okay, and with that, I think back to she was share, and by this being Black History Month, what better way to represent someone like my grandmother? Okay, that was once she picked cotton. She was a cook, and she would share with me the house where she did the cooking for. She was never allowed to enter into the front door. She could only enter in or leave out through the back door. Even when it was time for her to get off work, she could only she had to like wait down the street. She couldn't, be in the front of the house, nowhere near the front house. It was always in and out the back door or further down the street when you're getting dropped off to come to work. And even with that, I never seen her turn nobody away. She always made sure people felt special, no matter where they are or were in their seasons of life. That showed, my God, her heart. I see why God blessed her to be here 106 years, because that kind of energy, that kind of good energy, that kind of good heart posture is what blessed our family. It's what blessed everybody that came into her presence. Okay. So with that being said, I love to honor my grandmother and all other pioneers that paved the way for us to be able to celebrate Black History Month. It's them while we're able to stand on their shoulders and to be the people that we are today for God's purpose, prayerfully. We're being used by God to fulfill our God given purpose, right? And it was people like my grandmother, Rosalie Jones, who I honor, and other, Black pioneers that paved the way for us to continue to go forth and go forward and what we're called to do. Okay, so I dare not to not mention, how they made it for us to be where we are today. Standing on their shoulders, us giving that, confirmation that we can do it. Even we wouldn't sure ourselves, but their confidence in them gave us the confidence to do what we're doing today. So definitely, I love to give them their honor because they're so worthy and deserving of it, especially in this month, Black History Month, and every other month, as far as I'm concerned. So I definitely want to share that. I just thank you so much for tuning in today. I have some really, really exciting news to share, and I promise you, I can't wait to share it. As soon as I get approval that now I can share it, I'm going to be on this microphone listening and listening and just excited about what God is doing. Even more great news is coming to the Daddy's Lights podcast. Okay. And with that being said, I would love to also encourage the families that are dealing with CPS. Know that you're not alone. I have been through that. Like I shared earlier, I have overcame that. Not only did I survive it, I feel like I'm now thriving in it because God is allowing me to use what I went through, which it wasn't for me. It was for it wasn't for me. It was for God's people. It was for others who I'm connecting with now, able to give advice and encouragement. And I'm going to also list my information because I have decided to take my experience and overcoming CPS to use that to help others that's dealing with CPS, whether it's for parents, whether it's the grandparents, family, people you might know, friends, whomever that's being a victim to CPS, whoever don't know what to do, how to go about doing it, because it is a system that definitely a lot of people are not aware of what it entails. But guess what? God is faithful. And again, God can do anything. And that God that I'm talking about, my daddy, okay, he allowed me to overcome. And I say that to say this, many people don't. You really have to have divine wisdom, strategies. Even I recommend legal counsel. And I actually have a layout, what I would like to share with you, what helped me. God's grace brought me out, and He also gave me the endurance to physically come out, to be able to know divine strategies, discernment, even as I was going through that thing. God told me to begin to journal. And like I have shared before, I'm like, God, I don't want to tell nobody that. He said, but you know what? What you don't want to share, that's what I'm going to use to bless people with. See, again, you got to realize this is not about you. This is bigger than you. And when I tell you, I have met so many people that is dealing with CPS. I get text messages, I get emails, sometimes even phone calls saying, hey, you might want to look at this story. It's obvious that this family is going through something and they don't know what they're up against and they might need you to help them. So I thank God for wisdom. I thank God for divine strategies. I thank God for his love and his grace and his strength, because I assure you, if I didn't have that, including wise counsel, God put people in positions for a reason, right? There's attorneys in these positions for a reason. They know these CPS laws when a lot of times we don't know them, right? They know what to do and say. So it's important to utilize these wise counsels that know CPS laws. It's important to go to the hospital, go to your doctor when something don't look right, when something don't feel right. God has put these people in these positions for a reason, and I think, what they say, if you don't want to, it's pretty much like faith without works is dead. Sometimes you might be doing the work, but sometimes you might need somebody that is a professional in that area that can guide you and lead you and help you. If nothing else, who has the experience of that thing that can help you. You can learn from what they've learned by going through it, right? Because knowledge is power. Transparency really transforms. Transparency transforms. Iron sharpens irons. So all that is needed. Okay? And that's why I say it's good to know these things, because people perish due to the lack of knowledge. So while you have access to these tools and resources, I pray to God that you would, take hold to it, use it. Hopefully it'll bless you. It'll make you better. It'll give you what you need to overcome, like God allowed me to do. Okay. So I do believe that there is a will, there is a way. There is a way out. And God is faithful, and He is that way that will see you through. He did it for me time and time again. Okay. I don't always make the best decisions. I try to, but again, sometimes I don't. But God knows best. Okay. And when He tell me something, I'd rather be obedient to Him. They say obedience is better than sacrifice. It's greater than sacrifice, right? Because He is all knowing. He is. So I say that to tell you, stay encouraged. Don't give up. You might give out, but please don't give up. Why? Because God is not done writing your story yet. It's not over yet. Don't put a period where there should be a comma. Okay? You never know how God is going to turn that thing around for you in your favor. God work in mysterious ways. Do you hear me? I would have never thought that I would be on a podcast. You know, even though I love God behind doors and I worship God, I love to worship my daddy, but I never thought I would be in a platform encouraging people to do the same thing. I never thought that. I'm normally an introvert, but my mom would say, Trika, you know what? You can talk and you will come out and speak to people when you want to. And I never thought that I would want to do it like this. But you know, when God touches you in a way, you can't contain it. You want to help people. If your heart, anybody that has been through CPS, you have a whole new set of eyes. Trust me. And it's no way you God have allowed you to overcome something, not have to go through something. It's no way you can know what you know and not want to help. Even in just having a relationship with God, it's no way you can know the goodness of who God is and don't want to share people. You understand what I'm saying? We're supposed to share the gospel. If there's something good you know that I don't know, please tell me. I want to know, okay? Because knowledge is power. So please help set me free. That's all I'm saying, okay? So on that note, I just want to tell you that thank you so much for tuning in to Daddy Lights podcast. I hope you've had some type of encouragement, some type of inspiration, something that can make you think and hopefully make you see things differently in a better way. I hope it has been a jewel or nugget that I've shared to make you realize, yes, I can do this. I can make it out. I can make it through. If the same God did it for her grandmother that's 106, then surely, my God, that he did it for her, that he could do the same thing for me as well. So just know it's not over until God says it's over. So please don't give up. Keep going so you can be blessed and be glad that you didn't quit, that you didn't give up, so God can blow your mind for what he has for you. So with that being said, I hope you have a great weekend. Please continue to keep God first. Don't ever give up fighting for you, for your children, being the best version of you, being the best version for the people that you love and that you care about, that need you. And always keep God first. I have so much in store for you to tell you that's coming up on this show. You won't believe it. So you got to stay tuned to catch in on what we're doing next. So again, to God be the glory. Thank you for tuning in and have a blessed day and a blessed weekend.